Hey everyone, diving into those questions that you submitted on my Instagram story. Thank you again for submitting. I appreciate it and love to discuss, all the different things going on in my life, whether it's fitness, transitioning, what I do on the weekends, whatever. It's just nice to kind of connect with everyone a little bit more. So thanks again for submitting these questions. I'll try to get through as many as I can. If I don't get through your question today, or if it's maybe not appropriate, then obviously you could submit another time, change up the question, whatever it may be, but I'm going to be doing more of these, so just keep that in mind. All right, starting off with the first question. When did you first start noticing changes when you started tea? So I would say after the first month, I noticed the first changes. First change specifically for me was my voice deepening a bit. I would say after a few weeks, I started to notice that, and my partner as well. That would definitely be the first change, and then leg hair started to get a bit thicker. And then obviously now later on, I'm at about 8 months, getting more of the facial hair and feeling a little bit more of the libido increase and a little bit of strength. But yeah, it's obviously taken time, and everyone's different, and it could be based on genetics as well. Next question, will you be changing from a lower dose to a higher dose of tea now that you're seeing changes? So I actually started with a lower dose at 0.25 milliliters biweekly, and now I'm doing 0.4 milliliters biweekly. This is still considered a medium microdose, so not the full dose yet. That may look like 0.6 milliliters biweekly or more, but I'm obviously keeping safety as my priority, and my endocrinologist as well, so we're making sure that my bone density is where it needs to be before increasing my dose anymore, and that obviously can be over time. Next question, have you had any troubles traveling internationally being trans? I personally haven't. I've kind of gotten to a point now where I think I'm passing. So I was in Italy not too long ago, and I was getting sir, I was getting him, Mr., all kinds of names like that, and honestly felt really good. But I would say the most awkward points are when I'm going through airports where they have to check my ID, and then they kind of hold it up, look at me, and then they're kind of like, yeah, whatever. So thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't had any poor experiences, even with keeping my name still on my passport and on my driver's licenses and things like that. So luckily, it's been so far so good. My favorite color and what goal do you have with your life? My favorite color, that's really hard. I probably would say like army green. That, I don't know, changes all the time, but I really like it, and I think maybe because it brings out my eyes, but just solid color. And I wear a lot of it from Gymshark and casual clothes, so that's probably my answer. And my goal to do with my lifetime is to continue to advocate for trans, queer communities, especially within the fitness community industry, making sure that we are here, they know we're here, we are not going anywhere, and we deserve to build the body that's meant for us just as much as anyone else. So continuing down that path, using my voice to show that we're valid and we belong in these spaces, and to continue to educate everyone just about being trans, about how you can be successful, you can get opportunities, you can have successful relationships with your family, with your partner, with strangers, with anyone. So just normalizing the trans lifestyle is my main goal. And obviously with fitness, that's pretty cool to merge the two, my passion and my life. So excited to continue showing people what that's like and how you can be so happy and be successful and live your dream by just being you. My MBTI type. So I had to look this one up. So this was my personality type. So I think I can be a lot of these things, but it's definitely between top two. So this is the Myers-Briggs personality type. So there's 16 little boxes here that I'm looking at. If you want to check it out, if you just search up MBTI type, then you can find yours. So the only ones I'm stuck between are introversion and extroversion, because I find I can have moments where I'm very extroverted and moments where I like to be more of an introvert. So I can be more selective that way. But for the most part, I label myself ISTJ or ESTJ, meaning introversion, sensing, thinking, and judging, or introversion, sensing, thinking, and judging. So this looks like the ISTJ, which more introversion, says responsible, sincere, analytical, reserved, realistic, systematic, hardworking, and trustworthy with sound, practical judgment. Sounds pretty good. And ESTJ, so with the extroversion, is efficient, outgoing, analytical, systematic, dependable, realistic, and like to run the show and get things done in an orderly fashion. That sounds like me too. So I'm definitely a combination of those two. But yeah, check out what yours is. You can maybe learn a little bit more about yourself. How do I deal with toxic masculinity? So I think surrounding yourself with the right people can really affect your interaction, I guess, with toxic masculinity. On my socials, I really try to create a safe space for our community to talk about whatever they want, whatever questions you have for me, normalizing queerness, transness, everything. But I think surrounding myself with queer people a lot of the time really helps with avoiding toxic masculinity, and myself, as I become more passing in public, to change the perspective of masculinity. So I can take it upon myself to be, accepting of everyone, to show everyone love, to, just be my genuine self, where I do not give in, obviously, to misogyny, to homophobia, to transphobia, nothing like that. And I'm happy to speak up on those subjects when they interrupted with a phone call. But just to make sure that I am doing my part as I present masculine to eliminate or to rewrite what masculinity can be. So it doesn't have to be all of those toxic traits. We can still be respectful, responsible, caring, loving, accepting of everyone. And that is my goal as I become more masculine presenting, is to show that masculinity doesn't have to be toxic. Next question. Was there anything you were worried about in terms of starting tea? Definitely. With the changes, I was a bit nervous how I'd feel about facial hair, how I'd feel about just being in public, how fast it would be, how slow it would be. There's a lot of things to worry about, even fertility. That's something to keep in mind, because if you're still thinking about having children, this is something that you should think about before you start tea. So there can be some big decisions that need to be made before starting tea. So it can get a little bit intense at times. But I think if you really take the time to think of the pros and cons and what you want out of your life, then it can eliminate a lot of those worries. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. Like, everyone's journey is different, and you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. And I think that's something to always remember, is that everyone has different worries, but they're all valid, and you can work to get through those barriers. Something that I worried about was my family, because I came from a Catholic background on both sides, from my mom and my dad. So obviously acceptance was something I was worried about, and being queer is one thing, but transitioning can be another thing for people. So I think I was just worried about how they would take it, if it would affect our relationships. But honestly, I have had a very, very great experience so far, and I'm so lucky to have the family that I have. And that's why I want to give an olive branch to anyone that has had a more difficult time, because I want to give you the love and empathy that my family gave me. Okay, next. How many calories did you have to eat to bulk? Honestly, I've never really gone through a bulking or lean out phase. I've always kind of maintained a similar stature, but typically when they say you want to bulk or lose weight, add 500 calories or decrease 500 calories to what you're eating right now. But obviously that can be different for everyone, so a little bit of trial and error as well. Moving on. Okay. Next. How to gain weight on upper body but not legs for trans guys who can't start T. So weight training is your best friend. Consistently weight training, 3-4 times a week at least. I have taken a lot of time recently to focus on my upper body, and for me it's because I am going to be going down the top surgery route in about a month and a half. So I'm going to have some time later on where I can't use my upper body as much to work on my legs. But dedicating time to your upper body is key. So even if that's doing muscle group splits, hitting different areas, upper body areas, different days of the week, that way you have active rest days. So then if you're working your chest, your back is resting, or if you're working your shoulders, and then your biceps are resting more so that day. So then you can kind of work around that soreness, but still work your upper body more often than working your legs. So definitely dedicating that time to upper body is key. All right, what's next? What is the best way to lose your tit fat while on HRT? So on hormone replacement therapy. So fat, unfortunately, can't be spot reduced. It's going to come off everywhere. So in order for you to lose your tit fat, you're going to have to lose your fat from all over your body. It becomes easier as you incorporate more interval training, more weight training. The more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism. So that means the more often your body is going to be constantly burning calories, burning extra energy, so that you don't have to do as much work. So keep hitting those weights, do some interval training, cardio training, and always eating healthy makes a huge difference. So making sure you're getting whole grains, whole fruits and veg, lean meats, limiting dairy, staying active, and obviously avoiding junk food and takeout or just eating out often. Are there any effects you don't like with HRT so far? The oiliness of the skin is probably one that is not ideal. I've always had pretty clear skin for most of my life, but with actively injecting oil into my skin, then I am going to be more oily. So I've had to take a little bit more care of my skin, but I probably should have been anyway. So just a little bit more acne popping up here and there, but honestly it hasn't been too bad, so I can't complain. That's probably my least ideal effect so far. What was your personal process to get top surgery approved? Are you excited? Hell yeah, I'm excited. Holy crap, I feel like I've been waiting my entire life for this. And every time I go swimming, every time summer rolls around, I'm thinking about top surgery. So now that it's finally coming, I'm super stoked. And personal process, so I live in Canada, so it's a little bit different country to country. But for my surgery to be approved, I had to go through OHIP, which is the Ontario government, basically, of our healthcare system. And I had to get approved by 2 qualified nurse practitioners or doctors, basically to sign off that I was fit to have this surgery performed. So this took time. I had to talk to my doctors originally, and then they had to send me the application. I had to fill out the application, then I had to send the application back. They had to sign off on it. Then they had to send it to the ministry, who had to approve it. Once it was approved, then I had to wait a certain amount of time to actually get my top surgery date. I took it upon myself to find the clinics that would take me. So, asking around, looking up on the internet, who performs this surgery, who's the most well known for the surgery. So I found a few doctors, sent them to my doctor, and then eventually, over months and months, I think it was at least 6 months, it took for my application to get approved and to actually get a top surgery date. So it was a long process, but I will always say advocate for yourself, because there were months that went by where I wasn't hearing anything, and I had to send a ton of emails, some complaints to the ministry, to my doctor, to anyone I could, to actually hear back. So if I didn't do that, I think I would have been waiting a lot longer. Okay, let's do one more question. How many times a trans man can exercise chest? So anytime that I'm trying to develop a specific muscle group, I would say working that muscle group 2 to 3 times a week. So spacing it out, not doing it back to back, because you need that recovery time in between. But if you were to want to develop your chest, so hitting chest on Monday, maybe hitting it again on Wednesday or Thursday. So, or if I actually want to do 3 times, I can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That gives me quite a bit of recovery time in between, and I'm significantly developing that muscle and that muscle memory and building the muscle back bigger and stronger each time. So I'm going to wrap it up there with all those questions. Thank you so much for submitting. I'm going to do another set of these, so stay tuned for that. But I appreciate you coming and asking me and watching this video, and feel free to share to your friends and fam, anyone that may find this interesting or needs some education. All right, have a great day. Check out Gymshark. Have a good one, everyone.